Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today I finally wanted to get to the video that I had promised, showing what I had preserved up through August. Now, this was a challenge that was sent out on Facebook a few years ago, and I can't remember who was the initial person who started the challenge, but I got the idea through watching Living Traditions Homestead. And I did preserve all the way through August, every day and beyond, and have preserved quite a bit of stuff. Now, this is very late. We're into November now. And, I've dealt with some health issues that I've alluded to that I kind of wanted to update you on. I'm doing a little bit better. My health issues are just a chronic illness that I've had for a long time that deals with a lot of inflammation and, a lot of different things that, slowed me way down for a while. I'm getting a lot better and have made several different changes, one of which is I am on a very low carb diet, high protein, not keto or anything like that, and I'm not actually looking for recipe suggestions or anything like that, but it's helped a bit. And another thing was a huge amount of stress. I was actually working 3 jobs. I was doing accounting, doing a landscape design business, and also doing YouTube. And I think I wore myself out doing all of that. And the opportunity came up recently to not work accounting anymore. And I've made the leap to just do design and YouTube. So you should start seeing a lot more YouTube videos coming out on a more regular basis. But I've also taken out almost all fruit. I've kind of squeaked a tiny bit of fruit back into my diet, but almost all fruit, no grains. Any high carb veg is pretty much out, except for I'm cheating a little bit with winter squash because I grew quite a bit of it and I can't bring myself to give it away or to get rid of it. I really like it a lot. So I am eating winter squash a couple of times a month. But anyway, I wanted to show you what I preserved so far this year. I still have medlars left, mid-November. Well, actually, it's the first week in November, and I do have medlars left that I'm going to try and preserve. My last 2 videos that I did on trying to preserve medlars was a total fail, and wasn't able to get anything out of them because I harvested them too early. They're still on the tree, and I'm going to leave them there until I see a hard freeze in the forecast, which is not coming anytime soon that I can see. So we'll do another video on medlar preserves and see if we can actually get that to work. But let me show you what I've done to this point. Now, I was going to show you everything that I preserved, but I decided that was a bit much. So I just brought out a sample of one of everything that I've done. I keep all of my preserves under my stairs downstairs. It's a lot cooler down there. There's no windows. It's not air conditioned or anything, but it stays in the 50s in that little room. And it's got shelves in there and does really well for food storage. So that's where I keep everything. I keep all of my canned goods. Oh, here we've got Calcifer in the way. Let's get him down. Okay, baby. Let's get down. I keep all my canned foods in boxes. And then I keep all of my... Okay, Calcifer, you'll just have to be part of the video. Anyway, I keep all of my dried goods in these gallon freezer bags, and then I put them in the 5-gallon food grade buckets. So let's start in the back and show you what I've done. Now, I've given a lot of it away. I produced a ton of food. And as I said, I can't do very many fruits, so I kept some of the dried fruit and gave a lot of the rest of it away. But one thing that I can do is pickles, dill pickles. Very simple recipe. It's just vinegar, water, salt, garlic, and dill. And I grew all of it. So there's my dill pickles. My family loves those. Regular salsa. I don't normally do a lot of salsa, but we had a lot of tomatoes and a lot of peppers, and I found this salsa recipe that I loved. So we have quite a bit of salsa. So this is just the regular salsa. And next to it is what I decided to do with my Peruvian ground cherries that I love so much. Since I'm not able to eat them fresh very much, I made salsa out of them. So that's Peruvian ground cherry salsa. It does have tomatoes and peppers in it. There's my pickled peppers, We've got just plain canned tomatoes. I did grow a lot of tomatoes this year. And pickled beets. Now the pickled beets I'm going to have to eat very sparingly because they are not a part of my diet, but they are really good. And I grew a ton of beets this year. And I grew a ton of beets this year for the sole purpose of canning them. So I did. And if I have to give some away, I'll do that. For the dried goods, one of the treats that I found that I actually like is dried squash rounds. And my favorite way to do it is to put paprika and salt and pepper on it. And that's what I have there. These are my Bartlett pears and Asian pears from my stepmom. We've got dried cherries that are really good. My raisins that I really can't eat, so I've been giving those to my kids. They love them. We've also got peaches. Now these are very discolored, but they actually taste the same whether they're discolored or not. So I have been using those very sparingly. I dried a ton of cherry tomatoes. Those are really, really good. I also dried some of my San Marzanos, and what I think I might do is put those in oil, but they're really good. This is one of 4 bags of ground cherries that I dried. I had so many ground cherries, and they're really good dried. I'm eating those sparingly, and I'll probably give some away. This is paprika. This is what it looks like before it's ground, and there it's ground. This is the paprika that I grew. I gave away quite a bit of my jujubes, but kept some too. There's candied jujubes that I just absolutely adore, and I couldn't get rid of them, and dried jujubes that I use in cooking. We also have coriander. This is the seeds from cilantro. And what I do, and I've made a video about it, is, and I'll link that at the top, is I make a seasoning. This is a meat rub that is really good. It has coriander, pepper, dried garlic, dried onions, seasoned salt, and I think that's it. And it's really good. It's a good meat rub, and I use a lot of that. I use it on everything. There's the saffron harvest that I got. I'm going to be doing a video on planting saffron. I planted 100 corms and taped it. So now I have about 250 corms out there, and this is all I've gotten so far. But it's delicious and I love it. Then I froze a bunch of stuff. We've got green beans. These are the dragon tongue beans. Peppers. Cubed squash. I didn't know what to do with the rest of my cucumbers because I made a ton of pickles and I had a ton of cucumbers left. So this is cucumber juice, which actually is really good. I'm actually going to see if I can do popsicles out of that. And then this is a kind of a cucumber soup. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but I mix it with Greek yogurt and it's okay. I also roasted tomatoes and squash, onions, and peppers. And this is a tomato soup base that I absolutely love. We've got all my onions. Now this is what's left after doing a ton of salsa. I use at least an onion every day. We harvested these, I think, in July, the end of July. So I still have quite a few. I usually keep them just in my refrigerator, and they'll keep all the way through the next year if I have enough. This is what's left over of my garlic that I harvested, so I still have quite a bit of that. This is the powdered garlic, and I know it's in the Kirkland garlic bottle, but this is my actual powdered garlic from what was left over last year, which is the best powdered garlic ever. I love it. These are my dried basil. Sorry, we've got a kitty in the back trying to climb things. We've got my basil. This is how I store my basil, and then I just rub it between my hands for a basil powder. So this works beautifully. And we've got dried chives. So this is what I've preserved. Plus I have my squash. I have acorn squash here, butternut squash, and I have about 12 or 13 of each of those. So that's what I have there. Now, because I'm not able to eat fruit anymore, I did seriously think about taking out some of my fruit trees and not planting anymore and just doing nut trees and stuff like that. But I love fruit trees and I love growing them so much. You know, I have a Facebook page called Utah Rare Fruit Growers. You know, I actually, before I found out I had the issues that I have, I actually ordered another Nikita's Gift persimmon. So that's planted out in my yard. And I've decided I am going to just continue to plant and grow fruit the way I normally have. You know, I can have a little bit of it, you know, I'll taste a little bit of it, but it's really fun to grow it, and I can always give it away. There's always people who want fruit. So, and that's fun for me too. I gave away most of my grapes. I gave away a lot of my jujubes. You know, if I need to give it away, I'll give it away, and then I can preserve the rest and eat a little at a time. So anyway, I'm not too upset about that, but it is going to change the way I garden a little bit. Before, when I gardened, I used the food, I ate the food, but I wasn't growing it as much for eating as I was for the fun of it. But now, this last year, especially since I found out that, you know, the problems, the health issues that I have, I actually have made all of my food from scratch and have it mostly veggies. And I was able to do it. It took a lot of work and a lot of planning, and I'm not a good person about planning food and meals. You know, I don't have the bandwidth for that. But I took the time and I did it this last year, and I loved it. And now my garden's going to be a lot more about growing food that I'm going to eat and preserve and try to produce as much as possible of what I eat. Let me show you a little bit of what I have out in the garden beds that are growing that I can eat over the winter, along with the stuff that I've preserved. Now I'm going to do a video a little bit later this week about my hoop houses and what I'm doing with those, so I'm not going to explain those too much. But up here, what I have is I have the last of my kale from this summer. I've cleaned out all my garden beds and gotten them ready for the year. And this is not going to last the winter. I'm just going to leave it out as long as I can. Before the next big freeze, I'll probably pull all the leaves off and freeze those. This is my single layer hoop house, which I'm also going to use floating row cover, which I have back here. It all fell down because of the cats that like to inhabit my yard. But anyway, I'll use that plus this. Oh, and it looks like we got a rip right here. I may need to do something about that. Anyway, I'm going to see if that is enough of a layer to protect the mature plants. We have a cabbage that is almost ready to harvest. We've got kohlrabi that's still got a few weeks left on it. We've got some arugula, some spinach that I've been harvesting, and a few little carrots in the back. So this area, which also I have, oh, this is probably part of my mesclun mix that's going to seed, so I'll have to pull that. But anyway, I'm going to see how much of this I can harvest and use this winter. This will probably be the first one to be fully harvested. That's why I'm only using a single layer of plastic on it. There's the rest of my garden beds. And if you look way up at the top, this is mid-November, and that is a very protected area, and I am still harvesting cherry tomatoes. Next, we have my double layer hoop houses with plants that are a little less mature in here, so they will go throughout the whole winter. We've got some more kohlrabi. In the back, there's cabbage. We've got more kale that'll go through the winter. We've got some chichimicai that I've been using like spinach, and some dark lettuce that's squished in there, and a little bit of bunching onions. And this hoop house is just a repeat of the other one. The only thing I have in here that's different than the other one is a little more green lettuces. Plus I shoved in some chard, some rainbow chard. So we have that. There's the cabbages right there. So we'll see how these do. We'll see what we can harvest and when we can harvest it. It's not going to feed me over the winter, but it will give me some food. So thank you for watching this video. I've really enjoyed doing these videos, and I am excited to be able to kind of change up maybe the format of what I'm doing on my channel. I don't know. I am going to take the next couple of weeks and kind of try and figure out which direction I want to go with YouTube, since I'm now going to have more time to do it and possibly more energy. So please like and subscribe. Be tuned for the changes that are coming ahead, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.